So the next area we're going to look at is lighting and lighting equipment. Now, obviously, we have the option of natural light, generally almost always around us. And then there are the two options when it comes to artificial light. There is flash and there is continuous. Flash lighting is one that's synced up with the camera, that when the shutter goes, the flash will illuminate for a very short period of time. Continuous lighting is, as it sounds, is on constantly. So why would we want to use an artificial light? Well, the first reason is that it offers greater consistency. The amount of light that's generated by natural lighting is inconsistent throughout the day. It gets brighter and darker. And as well as that, the actual color temperature of the light changes, and therefore the appearance of what it is that we're taking a photograph of will also change. So artificial lighting gives us more consistency across the look of our images. The next is control. It's much easier to control an artificial light. We can actually pick exactly where it's positioned, and we can easily control the quality of that light, so how hard or soft it is. And then on top of that, we can actually control the warmth of the light, so the color of the light, how blue or yellow, or if we want to adapt it to be a different color, that too. And that just gives us the option to shape the mood a little bit more of our environment that we're taking a photograph of. Artificial light gives us a lot more flexibility about the time and place. We can light an environment so that it looks different than the actual time of day that it is. Maybe it's cloudy outside and we want some hard light from the sunlight coming in through the window. Now we can just replicate that using artificial light sources instead of waiting for the right weather. And then the final and most obvious option is that there just isn't that much available natural light at a location, and therefore we want artificial light to supplement that. In a little bit more detail at flash versus continuous. Now, the obvious difference is that one is continuously on and the other is only there for a split second. Now, you might think straight away, okay, well, why would I bother with the one I can't actually see what it looks like until I've taken the picture versus the one that's always on? Well, the benefit of having flash is that because it only exists for a fraction of a second, that fraction of a second that it exists for is incredibly bright. And what that means is that I can change the settings of my camera to cut down all of the ambient light, so any of the existing light in my environment, and have it entirely replaced by the lighting from my artificial light. And this means I can be super precise when I'm in a studio about sculpting the actual light that I'm looking for. Whereas when I'm trying to do the same thing with a continuous light, you need a very, very bright light in order to do that. And if you want a light that bright, you're going to be talking about spending cinema levels of money. Nonetheless, continuous lights do still have their place. They're fantastic for video, and often they're designed so that you can actually change the warmth of the light itself, and therefore it works fantastically well as a supplement to existing natural light. Other benefits of continuous over flash is that because you can see what it looks like at the moment, it's much easier to get an understanding of how to light the scene than with flash, where you have to move the light, take the image, move the light, take the image. So let's have a discussion about choosing the correct light for you. If you expect to almost exclusively be taking still pictures, I would generally recommend using a flash because it's generally the most cost-effective way to create lots of artificial light in our environment. If you expect that you're going to be doing more video as part of your work, then I'd recommend getting continuous lights. This is because flash is, its very nature, not usable for video. So what else do you need to know what the right light is for you? Well, you need to look at the CRI. CRI is a color reproduction index. The higher the number, or closer to 100, the more true the actual colors are going to be. The next is watt power. Now, in flash, a small flash that you can mount to the top of your camera is probably going to be about 200 to 400 watts. And then after that, you're looking at about 600 up to 3200 watts in the studio. For each leap in watts is the equivalent to one stop of light in the camera. So if I go from 200 to 400, it's like going up one stop of light in ISO. So the higher the wattage, the more powerful the light is. Generally, for most studio work, you're going to need lights that are about 1200, but often you can get away with as low as 600. Most of my work, I use 6 to 1200 lights. Lights with a wattage of 3200 is usually where you're doing very specific things like trying to freeze motion. Continuous lights are also measured in watts. The higher the wattage, the stronger the light output. The next thing that's very, very important about when buying lights is their durability. Now, we can get quite cheap lights from brands like Neewer. Now, though these lights do work well and they do provide a lot of light, they won't last as long as more famous industry standard brands. Obviously, you need to make a decision about what the most appropriate light is for you. An option could be to buy an older used light from one of the major brands that you can guarantee is probably going to last another 10 to 15 years. Or you could buy a light from the likes of Godox, which will provide you with some of the latest features, but less likely to last you your career. And then the final thing to consider when you're looking to buying a new light is consistency. So the cheaper lights, unfortunately, in their level of light output from one flash to the other. And this means that when we're doing some sort of composite work in the studio where we're adding together 4 or 5 images, can't guarantee that the exposure is going to be the same on all of them. So spending more money on lights will mean they're more durable, they have a higher color reproduction index, and they're more consistent from flash to flash.